Welcome to Pivoting to Technology Adoption. I'm your host, Donna P. Mitchell, the Transformation Authority. Every week, I sit down with executives, strategists, and innovators to tackle the one problem no one's solving: why 70% of technology transformations fail. Let's pivot. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Pivoting to Technology Adoption. And today I am excited to have Rohit Nambiar. Now, Rohit has spent 17 years in C-suite of Asia's largest insurance companies. Most recently, the group CEO of Tune Project, publicly listed in Malaysian insurer, but he's out of the insurance industry. He has a new book coming out that we talked about, The Simplicity Trap, and that's going to be very exciting to get into that a little bit. But the reason he's here, he believes in transformation, but it's not always the technology, so it's just not me. There are a lot of things that we align on in our theses, and I'm going to turn it over to Rohit because I think he's got a lot more to say. It's our audience together. And Rohit, say hello to everyone and tell us a little bit more about your background and what's happening in Asia and Malaysia's scene for why you were interested in coming on Pivoting to Technology Adoption. I'm so glad you're here.
Thanks, Donna. I'm excited. I'm excited to talk to your audience. I've heard your podcast. I've really enjoyed it. So I'm
Thank
Rohit.
you.
I was born in India, raised by a single mother because my father passed away when I was very young. Went through a lot of difficulties when I was younger, but yeah, we made it, as they say. You never make it, but you're on the journey. I was at that time in 2017. I was the youngest CEO in Malaysia in the insurance industry.
Wow.
At 37 for AXA Affin. AXA is the largest insurance company at that time in the world. So for the life insurance company in Malaysia, I was their CEO. Then I moved on to be the group CEO of a small, mid-sized listed insurance company called Tune Protect.
Mhm.
And after about 3 years and 9 months, I decided, some say to get to the dark side, some say to the more exciting side of entrepreneurship. So four of us co-founded a AI health startup, health and wellness startup called SabaiHealth. All four co-founders are sitting in different countries. So
Mm.
my co-founder sits in San Francisco. The other one sits in Turkey. The tech guy sits in Turkey. The doctor on the panel and the person who takes care of the clinical part of things sits in Thailand, and I sit in Malaysia. So it's a very exciting project. And obviously, while all of that was happening, I did a couple of things. One, I went and did a course in AI from MIT. So I was in Boston, as I mentioned to you, just a couple of months back. Did a 7-month course, and I also wrote a book. It's called The Simplicity Trap. And it talks about exactly what you mentioned, which is most of making things complex is very simple, especially in regulated industries like insurance and healthcare. Just
Mhm.
underwriting, claims, legal folks in the room, and it gets complicated enough. But making things simple, on the contrary, is very complex because it means you have to cut processes, you have to make bold decisions, and that's a trait you don't see enough. And um, I will just hand over with probably a couple of points. I was with the team that launched Malaysia's first telematics. I was with the team that launched Malaysia's first online health insurance. I was with the team that launched Malaysia's first insurer to put core on the cloud. I was with the team that put Malaysia's first health tech proposition for people
Oh,
who
so
may.
you've been around. You've been around. You have a lot of experience. You got a lot of pattern
Exactly.
recognition.
I also have been on the side of failures. So we at Tune Protect tried to set up a life insurance company and shut it down after 18 months because we realized the market need wasn't there. So, it's all not been bed of roses. There's been a flurry of thorns in there as well.
So when you've had some thorns and you've had some ups and downs, what is it that you feel executives that are listening and they're coming into this space? You and I have had a lot of experience. We've been the first in just about everything we touched, based on our space and where we've been in
Mhm.
geolocation and everything else. You and I have seen it from the beginning. But there are people listening and executives listening who are scared to death right now. They have not seen it before. They've got a lot of methodology under their belt, but they haven't had practical experience or lived experience. What are some of the main 3 or 4 recommendations that they need to take away coming into a transformation so it's successful? Because the technology always works. I think you found that in your book too. It's not the technology, it's usually the people or the organization. Can you shed some light on that piece right there?
Great. I think that's a great one. I've always said technology is over glorified in transformation and change is not spoken enough. And people think it's a topic that's spoken after adoption, after the technology is ready. Most technologies that you go live with in today's world is outdated at the time it's going live already. That's the pace of change. For me, I look at it as I have a simple framework I've always used. There are 5 things that a leader should have when you're getting on any transformation. One is a vision. Why do you want to transform? What is the rallying call that you have as a team? Right.
Mm-hmm.
The second is what's the strategy underpinning that vision? So when I decided that we want at Tune Protect to focus on bite-sized insurance products, the vision was changed. The vision at that time was we want to be a lifestyle insurer of choice. And that's why we changed the motto of the company to say insurance simplified. I have a joke at that time. We wanted to be an insurer who focuses on Gen Z and millennials. And our tagline said protection simplified. And
Mm-hmm.
we asked the brand team to do some top of mind and closed surveys. And when they closed the brand name and asked Gen Z and millennials, what does protection simplified mean? They said, is it a condom brand or is it a contraceptive brand? There's no connection with insurance. So we had to go back and say it as it is, which is insurance simplified is our motto. Why do I have to say protection, simplified? It means different things for different people. So coming back, so first is having a clear vision, having a strategy, having an action plan which converts that strategy into simpler tasks, having clear resources backing it, and having KPIs that you're driving towards. And most often than not, you need lead KPIs and not lag KPIs. We're always looking for financial KPIs. Yes, it's important. But financial KPIs are lag KPIs. You have to, if you're doing a transformation in customer service, you look at whether my average handling time is reduced or whether my NPS is reduced, whether my claim cycle times in insurance have reduced, have my customer response times reduced, because
Mm-hmm.
for it to flow through bottom line and top line, it's taking more time. And without even one of these 5 as leaders, you have a problem. A team that doesn't have a vision but has strategy, action plan, KPI, resource is going to be confused because nobody knows where this company wants to go. A team with vision, strategy, action plan, no resources, and a good KPI is going to have complete friction because people are just overburdened. A team that has the first 4 and doesn't have KPI are generally the team that's very laid back because nobody knows what we're driving towards anyways. So it's kind of, transformation is a process where we're bringing the different elements together, and it's kind of balancing those 5 elements. I think without even one, you can't have a successful transformation program.
I find it very interesting that you focused immediately on the KPIs and the KPIs, the benefits on the KPIs if you don't have the KPIs. And I have had some companies that did not have any KPIs. I did not understand how they could operate in that manner. So, could you tell us, based on what you've experienced, what do you think people are really missing? Who should be in the room? Are there key players that they're not bringing to the board meeting? Are there other areas of the company that should be included? What have you seen that's really been missing as of late that you think people just don't get? Executives just aren't getting it, and they keep missing it.
Put up a post on LinkedIn 4 or 5 months back. One of the senior CEOs in Malaysia asked me, "Hey, can we have a coffee? And I want some advice." So he was
Hmm.
talking about how he's bringing on a large consulting house to come up with a strategy around artificial intelligence. And I asked him, how many of your team has actually tried AI? And his answer surprised me was to say, first of all, AI is not ChatGPT or Claude, right? It's not just prompting your
Hmm.
which restaurant you should be going to. That's not AI. Second of all, AI is not a technology topic that you say that a tech team will handle, and it's not for consultants to come and tell you. So today, my simple advice to all leaders is you gotta get your hands dirty to know what AI is. For me, AI is the reason why I quit a highly paying job was because I'm convinced whether I'm successful in this venture or not, I'm convinced AI is to mankind what tire and fire was to mankind. It's going to fundamentally change the way we do work. So if as leaders you don't understand AI at the practitioner level, you will not be able to drive enterprise scale transformation. When I was in my earlier roles, we used to have tech teams coming out with PRD, BRD, and all these complicated documents saying what's the requirement. And then, one black box will appear after 9 months, and then you realize this is not what I asked for, etc. Now it's very simple. I would prompt in Claude. I would prepare a document in Claude Cowork. I'll put it into Claude Code. I'll vibe code a simple one and tell the tech team, I don't know how to scale this. I don't know infrastructure, security, all of that. But this is how I want things to look like and be. Now go and build it at an enterprise grade
Mm.
level. That's how the world is changing. It's fundamentally changing. So for today's leaders, I think even if you're in very traditional businesses, to think that somebody else will do it for you, it's not going to work.
Wow. So when I think back to some of the information that I was able to read and get impressed with, back in 2016, AXA, Malaysia, you were Chief Transformation Officer. And you mentioned to me earlier you had built a lot of firsts, but this was the country's first RPA team in insurance. Can you tell us what happened with the invoicing and the automation and just paint that picture a little bit for us?
I love it. So we were the first insurer to actually execute robotics process automation at scale, which meant we went quite, detailed. That's the earlier form of AI.
Mm-hmm.
And that used UiPath a decade back in Malaysia. It was pretty much unheard of for insurers. Um, we did the first project. It was extremely successful, and we automated an entire claims review process, which was rules around transactional level claims payments. We automated it. Typically, we had 12 people who would come in, look at the files, match the rules, approve it, and then make the payment. Now, what's so happening was next day morning, they come in. RPA is pretty much looked at the 5 rules. It only gives out 10 to 15% of claims for which the rules didn't match and says this is for you to investigate further. The others all are done, proved. Then after a few samples, we put another robo in and the payments were also being made. So this went well and everybody was clapping in the room. And those were the times when RPA was very early. I still remember when I went for branch tours to some of the smaller towns, they would ask me, Rohit, how tall is the robo? And I had to tell them, it's not a robo that you watch in movies. It's different. Then came the shock, right? We implemented something in finance and we had 3,000 over duplicate invoices created by the robo and even paid out.
Mm.
So here we have actual financial loss. Luckily, not material, but still a loss, right? It's an operational incident. We had to analyze what happened here. And unfortunately, obviously, the team was looking for help from the tech team to say, can you RPA this back and bring it back? And we had to say, unfortunately, we can't do it because this now requires manual intervention. So we actually had to put people to, sort the
Mhm.
issue out. Then we sat down and said, what happened here? And it's very clear. I'm sure many of your listeners will say, oh, this is something we've heard. And the irony of it is people hear it and don't do it again and again. The first one is the project didn't have a real sponsor. The project had someone who said, hey, here's success that I've seen in other teams. So can you come and implement it in my team?
Mm.
Because then I can also have some improvements. But there was no real sponsor. Second, is there was no process mapping. So garbage in, garbage out. And the third was it was very evident the minute problem came, one of the team members on the finance side said, it's a tech problem. And we knew there's a problem here because the minute you're saying this project is a tech project, it's not your project anymore. You've already separated yourself. So we knew this had to change. So one of the first things as a result of that we embarked on was a program of lean because lean lends itself more to agile than traditional Six Sigma.
Mhm.
So every time we took on new processes, we first improved the process before we deployed tech on top of it. And we found so many processes. We found so many interesting stories. When we were doing a lean on reporting in the company, we found one example. There are many other examples, but this one makes us laugh even today when some of us meet over a drink or over a coffee. um, we found a report being prepared by somebody in the business intelligence team every day morning from 8 to 10, and he would actually massage the data the day before, come back in the morning, ensure the report is in at 10 o'clock, saved in the shared folder, because the chief distribution officer looks at it. And then I asked the chief distribution officer, he's now with another organization as a CEO, good colleague, I would say. I asked Seki, "Hey Seki, have you seen this report?" And he said, "Which report are you talking about?" He was not even aware there's a report like this. And then we checked who asked for this. And then we went back, and the person before him was someone known as well. And we just checked, was this report asked by you? It was not asked by him also. It was asked by two chief distribution officers before, 5 years before, by someone. And this report was being created by the company, 4 hours of somebody's time, because the chief distribution officer has to view it, and nobody's used it. Now, you might say it's just a little bit of work, but imagine how many such examples potentially lie. So, the premise which I have lived my life, and I talk about it in the book as well, is people love adding stuff, nobody likes removing stuff. And that is more important than adding stuff.
So, with that said, I mean, that really brings into mind that a lot of times people don't realize in the process they have totally missed the people. It's just not even there. And it's just something they do, think it should be done. It gets done and nobody really cares. And then in today's world, you have processes taking place and you still don't know what they're doing. You still don't have any people involved and there's no guardrails.
Yeah.
And now you hear a lot about AI, responsible AI, and we have AI responsible, we have compliance, you've got guardrails, you've got all these acts, the GDPRs, you've got so much going on. Do you think a lot of the executives are really paying attention to it? What is it that you've seen and what is it that concerns you that no one's paying attention to?
Well, there's the social angle, which I'm happy to go into. That's a different topic altogether on the impact of AI, because I'm living it and I know what kind of deep ramifications we're actually talking about.
Yeah, even from an organizational standpoint, I think you need to balance the needs of the organization and the people. I think a lot of what's happening in the world or what's happening in organizations, we are still all human dignity people. I mean, everybody needs to really well, I don't really need to start preaching now, so let me just change the topic. But at the end of the day, let's stay focused on the organization and the people and balancing the needs of both. So I'll let me just hush.
Yeah, it's a great topic actually. So I always say one thing, AI is only as good as the person behind it. It's more important than ever before. If I have someone who is very good, the AI
Mhm.
gets better at it, because ultimately AI is being trained by a human being. I remember listening to one of the professors in MIT recently for my classes, and he mentioned, for someone who's so ahead on AI, he also reminded everybody that the human brain is one of the most sophisticated neural network. So we need to understand that compare AI is, not there in terms of sophistication. So having said that, I use obviously AI extensively. My organization uses AI, but I think there's three levels to your question. One is the AI is only as good as what you create.
Mhm.
Second is the guardrails are very important. It is important to define what AI cannot do before you define what AI can do as well. Because there's too much of thinking around all the things AI can do, but without putting enough time on what are the things you don't want AI to do. So, for example, for Sabai Health,
Exactly.
which is a startup, we are very clear we are not a doctor. We say that every time you look at us, you use us, you send a picture of your health report, you send an audio, you send a text, we remind you we're not a doctor. We are a care companion who's going to be with you and work with you, but we're not a doctor. So
I was
that's
just going to ask you,
our
what is Sabai Health exactly? So people who were listening, what is the framework for Sabai Health?
I'll come to that. And the third one, from a people perspective, is we need to understand that um, there's a lot of new skills that AI is also going to create. And there aren't enough people for that. And that's not the traditional definition of coding, etc. For example, my organization, 25% of the people are psychology and behavior scientists because I need to train AI to be able to respond to you in a more EQ savvy way and not sound like a bot. So obviously, I have new requirements, which I probably didn't require in an insurance company before. So to your question on what Sabai does is, Sabai is an care companion for life. It's the idea of Sabai is you on your WhatsApp or Line or Telegram, it's message first, can manage your health and wellness needs. If you need to go to a doctor, obviously it'll connect you to it. You can do a human in the loop. But the idea is you can track your medicines. It reminds you to take your medicines. It doesn't prescribe medicines, but once you get a medicine, it reminds you to take your medicine. Medicine compliance is a massive issue globally. It remembers you. So when I say headache and when you say headache, it will respond very differently because with me, it knows I have sinus. So it'll ask me, is it paining near your forehead? Or in that case, just continue for 3 more days what you're doing. And then if it's getting worse, go to a doctor, etc., etc. But in your case, it'll go through a process of understanding who you are. So it's multi-language. It's a multi-LLM, which means when a query goes in, the query gets routed to different LLMs depending on the type of query. Give you a quick answer. For example, let's assume there are 4 people. Person A says, I have a headache. Person B says, I have a headache for 7 days. Person C says, here's a bunch of medical reports. Can you tell me what to make out of it? Person D says, how much protein should I take? Now, the last query, the fourth query, is the easiest query. So we actually go to DeepSeek, which is, yes, Chinese AI, but it's super cheap, super fast, super efficient. So we keep our token prices much lower, and it's quite good in terms of quality, really good. So we use that. For the rest of the queries, we go based on the type of query. So for example, if you say you have a headache, our medical triage will query and will start asking how, when, what, etc. So our RAG layer kicks in as well. If somebody says they have a headache for 7 days, or if they've been bitten by a snake or something of that sort, the retrieval layer kicks in and there's no conversation. It'll tell you, you need to go meet a doctor. And do you want to go to a doctor or you want to go meet a doctor? Now, if you send a bunch of medical reports, then it goes to medical grade LLMs to give you the answer. And if it's a complicated query, then on top of it, it adds other sources like PubMed. For example, if someone says, hey, I'm on statins for cholesterol, but I was told you can take peptide. Now, it won't tell you go and take peptide. It will tell you, this is what research says on peptide. This is what it could mean for you, and you should go and get doctor's advice. So that's how Sabai is created. It's obviously a lot of AI. It's a patent pending technology that we have as well called Genius Care, but it's been built by humans for humans.
Okay, I'm very excited about this. So I had another question, if you don't mind, about SabaiHealth. I'm sure you don't mind talking about this. Is your current project, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, and this, you've been doing this, what, about 2026?
So we started it in 2025, July, August.
Okay, it's recent. Okay, so this is my question. My question is, it sounds like, and I want to get it clear because I like the way this is going in the healthcare space. It sounds like as a caregiver, if you're in that caregiver space, you know what you should be doing if you're an advocate for the patient. You want to check on their medication and how they feeling, what they doing, if they doing, when they doing, or maybe they not doing, and you got to encourage them and everything else. No, you want to do this and da 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 da. I'm going through that now with with somebody that I love in my family. But it sounds like what you are building would be fantastic for those that don't have caregivers. Is that what's happening?
Yeah. So that's one use case. There are potentially 2 or 3 use cases that's
What
happening.
are the other use cases? Let's talk about it.
So basically, in terms of Sabai right now, the 2 main use cases are nutrition and actually 3: nutrition, chronic care support, and diagnostics. So people sending us a bunch of medical reports. Nutrition is a big thing. People taking photos of food and people wanting to control their diet, etc. Chronic care is become a big part to what you mentioned. So one of the things we're seeing in Thailand, for example, is we've tied up with a clinic which has chronic kidney patients. And the challenge with CKD patients is they don't, there are 3 kinds of patients, I'm told. So one is people who know they have a problem but don't know what they can do don't know what they can do.
They don't know
Peop-
what to eat. They don't know what to avoid. You got the different things, phosphorus, potassium, salt.
People who know they have a problem and don't care, and people who don't know don't care. So our mandate was when they walk out of the clinic, they scan our QR, and our job is then to remind them to take the medicine because medicine compliance is a big issue. And then we start a dialogue. How are you feeling today? So people make all kinds of assumptions because we live in, unfortunately, a world of a lot of misinformation. So people ask us, I was told with chronic kidney condition, I can't work out. I was told, or when they feel a little nauseous about a certain medicine, they decide not to take it. Or when they feel, a headache, And these are questions for which we will give them a fair answer. If we don't have the answer, we will connect them back to the system. So because nurses and doctors don't have the time to talk to the patient and the patients cannot get in touch. So we kind of act as that engagement system for people. Now, obviously, it's not limited to those who are going as patients. It's also for people who want to, manage themselves outside of it. So, for example, subject to obviously the privacy rules and both parties agreeing, it could be kids checking over older parents, aged parents. So we're seeing quite a bit of interesting use cases in that space at this point in time.
Yeah, it seems like it would be helpful for those who are living long distance as well. I was in that situation. It was very difficult to still do something long distance and take care of things. You get the monitor and the camera, for security, but then you still have the wellness piece. So I'm sure you're going to do very well with Sabai Health, is what we're talking about. And I'm going to be very interested in what's going forward. So when you look at the marketplace right now, what is it that really concerns you? When we talk about technology and transformation or new products, and what is it you want those that are listening to you right now to leave with or take away from the conversation of, your background and your in-depth experience? What should they really be taking away to prepare them for what's coming?
I think three things. Tech should not lead your transformation journey. Tech enables your transformation journey. So please do not put your CTO in charge of transformation. The CTO enables the transformation that the business wants to achieve. I used to say this earlier. I don't like titles like Chief Digital Officer because in an organization, digital should be like electricity. Do you have a Chief Electricity Officer? So why should you have a Chief Digital Officer? So again, the reason I bring that example is don't put your responsibility on someone else. If you're the CEO of the organization, it's your mandate to drive transformation. AI should be central to your agenda, to the board's agenda, to your management team's agenda. That's the first one. Second is be very clear about the KPI and what you want to achieve out of AI.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'll give you an example. When I started the cloud journey, I was told there were three benefits from the cloud journey: scalability, security, and cost. There were others as well, but let's keep it to these three. I agree. Cloud provided me unbelievable scalability and flexibility. Cloud security is better than, the traditional server security. Cost, no ways. My cost went up 4.5 times. So um, the same way, coming back to AI, I heard one of the CFOs talk about this recently, that you should add the cost of tokens to also your total cost of resources, because when you remove 10 resources and your token cost goes through the through the charts, you're kind of just moved costs from left side to the right side.
Mm-hmm.
The third I would say is, yes, you need to move very fast, but learn to walk before you run. Otherwise, you're going to fall on your nose. You really need to ensure you know what you're doing. And that's why I go back to the thing, which I don't think I would have said 5, 10 years back, not even 5 years back. I wouldn't have said, oh, as leaders, I don't need to be someone necessarily who needs to know how technology works. I need to be able to have the conversation with the technology people on where I want to go. But I think with AI, you need to get your hands dirty a lot more than what you did earlier. Because without knowing it at that level, you won't be able to appreciate what it can do.
So thank you for that. Very clear. So with the simplicity trap, is there a place where the trap starts? Where's the trap? I guess I want to know where's the trap. I mean, we talked about it a little bit, but for those listening, where does the trap start? Is there a place that it starts, or it can start in any gap?
It can start in any gap, but there are three very simple factors always. The first is the people. If people don't want to be taking hard decisions, people don't want to make bold decisions, people want to cover themselves, people want to protect themselves, people don't want to expose themselves. Complexity is where all of these kind of people thrive, right? The second is complex. The trap is when you kind of don't want to make decisions. And I heard something which Tony Fernandez spoke about in one of the events, AirAsia CEO, that he prefers people who makes decisions even if they are wrong decisions, rather
Mm-hmm.
than who don't make decisions. And I think a lot of complexity is because we just don't want to make a decision. And there's a lot of things that relies which we don't want to make a decision and get ourselves into trouble. The third is not being able to cut through the bushes, if I may say so. So empowerment is, I'm a big believer in empowerment, but any empowerment should come with boundaries. And you need to know, you need to send a message very clearly to your team. What do you expect? I'll give you one example. We were the first insurer to have zero paper on all in control processes. So we literally had no paper. But when I went and walked into the office, I put a post on that on LinkedIn. We were basically paper everywhere. And when I started asking people, why do we need this piece of paper printed? Why do we need this piece of paper filed? I used to hear all the time the regulation requires it. And then I used to ask, why 5 times? Okay, can you show me where the regulation? Then they would come back and say, it's not written in that many words, but this is my interpretation. How did you interpret it? And then it was very simple. Go and ask the regulator. Oh, many times you have to cut through the bush to find out if, the weeds have just sprung up because nobody ever cut it.
So I hear you there. So when you think about it, a lot of things that you mentioned are the culture of the organization.
Yes.
Would you say, based on your experience or recommendation, if the culture is not in a positive flow versus a dysfunctional flow, would you hold on the adoption of the technology and work on the culture of the organization?
That's the very first thing you have to work on. As Peter Drucker rightly said, culture is strategy for breakfast, and I'm 100% aligned to that.
Mhm.
Don't have the culture, you cannot deliver. I used to always have a tagline in every company I worked in. It was called the fun but uncomfortable work culture. So I used to say, we're going to have fun. I have something called the smile test. If when you meet your team in a mall or in a corridor, if they smile at you, it means you are the kind of manager who they are, who they would like their kids to work for. If
Mm.
you're someone they're running away from, if you're someone they're not smiling, if they're someone you're not picking up the call of, it tells you what kind of a manager you are. So coming back, for me, the culture is very important. So we said in two things. One, it has to be a fun place.
Mhm.
We had parties, we had fun, but I stretched the team as well. I rallied the team on stretch targets. So I always told them we're never going to be comfortable. We're going to be very uncomfortable, but we're going to be fun. And I think that's very important. If you want to reach stretch targets, you have to create a fun and uncomfortable culture for people to work in. And that's when people drive harder. At Sabai, I always tell people, so today we had someone newly join us from Hong Kong. And the first thing I told her was, Ashley, you're going to love every single member you talk to in the team because they're all super committed. They're all extremely passionate.
Mhm.
But you're also going to see they're all a little crazy because a passion can overrun its. And but that's the culture we've built. We like each other. We work like crazy, but we also have healthy arguments all the time. I believe a functional team is the one where there's healthy arguments. A dysfunctional team is the one where people are all accepting everything.
I've got one last question. How do you deal with the adoption in your companies? Do you assign somebody to it? Who's accountable for the adoption? Is it just up in the air? Is it implemented? is it designed? There's a strategy, but who is really responsible or should be responsible for the adoption?
The overall responsibility lies with the leader of the business, but the sub KPIs lies with the different business leaders. I remember when I was the chief transformation officer at AXA Affin, I had told my CEO and my senior leadership many times, saying, I don't know sales function better than the sales head. I don't know HR function better than the HR head. I don't know finance better than the finance head. How do you expect me to come and transform? You are responsible, and my job is to help you achieve that agenda by facilitating what you need. So they are still in charge. I'm not in charge. So
So
don't try to shirk the responsibility.
So do you think there should be one person though to make sure it gets done? I
No,
guess
this is
that's where I'm really going with it. Do
the
you
CEO
think
is one person. For me, the CEO is the one person, and then there is a BAU, business as usual, and transformation agenda for the different leaders in the business. It shouldn't be a separate person running it. I understand why some companies have those people, but
Mhm.
they are there. They are still not the one responsible for the agenda. They are facilitating the transformation agenda in different departments. The department heads are still responsible for driving the transformation in their areas.
Okay, Rohit. I know if you said it, it's so. So at the end of the day, your book came out when and how can people reach out to you and connect with you?
Thank you. My book came out on the 30th of April.
Mhm.
In fact, tomorrow is the formal big launch in Malaysia. We have 160 people coming for the book launch, and we have a LinkedIn Live as well. You can buy the book on Amazon worldwide. It's also available in some airport stores in this part of the world and a few other places. You can reach me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I love writing. And that's why I wrote this book as well. So happy to, that's my book. So
Okay.
to have a conversation anytime. Yeah.
The Simplicity Trap. Thank you so much for being on Pivoting to Technology Adoption. And this is Rohit Navyar and Donna Mitchell shaping tomorrow together. Thank you.
Thanks, Donna.
Thank you for listening to Pivoting to Technology Adoption. If this episode gave you something to think about, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a colleague who needs to hear it. My new book, Pivoting to Technology Adoption, Mind the Gap, is available now on Amazon. Visit pivotingportal.com to work with me directly. I'm Donna P. Mitchell, the Transformation Authority. Until next time, mind the gap.